Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I'm going to review an exciting new Stones album, which has just come out, a live album. I'm a bit behind, actually. I just saw it in the local record shop the other day. I wasn't even aware it had been released. And it's a pretty important release because it's the concert from Toronto in early 1977 at the El Mocambo Tavern. And this is notable for a few reasons. One of them is that Keith Richards had just been busted for heroin a couple of weeks before, and he was threatened with a jail sentence, which he managed to avoid just. But then they found themselves on stage a few weeks later, and the lineup of here is the classic Stones lineup of the 70s, including Bill Wyman on bass, of course. And then we've got Ian Stewart on piano, Billy Preston on keyboards, and Ollie Brown on percussion. It's the same lineup as had been on this 1977 live album, not from the same tour, apart from side 3 on here is from this very concert I'm talking about. But other than that, the other material from Love You Live is kind of taken from various concerts in 75 and 76. So you don't get a tremendous sense of continuity when you're listening to it. Whereas this concert, reading the sleeve notes, excellent sleeve notes written by Paul Sexton, it includes the entire concert, the entire set list from the March the 5th performance, and they did 2, by the way, and then 3 songs from March the 4th, which were only performed on March the 4th. And I'm presuming, I think I'm right in saying that the March the 4th 3 tracks are the last 3, Melody, Luxury and Worried About You, and I'll come to that in a minute. But what happened is they wanted it to be a surprise gig, because obviously if you advertise the Stones for a 300-seater, you're going to be inundated with ticket requests. So what they did is they got a local band to announce a concert as them being the headline with a backing band called the Cockroaches, which nobody had heard of, obviously, because they didn't exist, who turned out to be the Rolling Stones. On the night, obviously, the local band became the support, and then the Stones came on as the main act. But can you imagine the surprise if you were one of those 300 people who just casually bought a ticket to a local band, and then you get treated to this? And the great thing about this album is I can't think of other live albums certainly from the 60s and 70s where they've got the whole show. Maybe some of the later day live albums do that, but this is literally the whole show, and it, as I say, gets you into the mood of the concert. And thinking about it, the Some Girls video, I don't have it on CD, but the video of the Some Girls tour, that was the whole concert as well. That worked very well. But other live albums from the Stones have been kind of hit and miss over the years. Get Your Ya-Ya's Out was outstanding. Give Me Shelter was great, although those were not complete concert renditions. The Goat's Head Soup live disc with the box set is great. Love You Live is a little bit mixed and incoherent, as I said. I don't really like stadium gigs as much as I do intimate gigs like this one. The Some Girls live one is outstanding. Still Life from 81 is a disaster in my opinion. And then the other one I wanted to mention, oh dear, I've forgotten to bring it in, but the other one which I think would rival this as being the greatest Stones live album for me would be the Stripped album from 1995, when they kind of embraced the kind of unplugged concept. And that album was a joy, because they got to do tracks they never would do live in a stadium, because they wouldn't work probably, but in an intimate setting they did Shine a Light, Sweet Virginia, Slipping Away, Wild Horses, Let It Bleed and Dead Flowers, as I say, which they normally wouldn't have done. I think they maybe did Dead Flowers live soon after Sticky Fingers came out, a couple of times since, but those kind of ballads don't normally feature, so that was great. But this also has several highlights. I mean, one thing I noticed is Black and Blue, by the time this concert was performed, was nearly a year old, and yet I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is it 6 songs from Black and Blue. They do Hand of Fate, which is a great version and great to hear live, because that was not featured on here. In fact, this album, considering it came out in 77, I think Hot Stuff is the only track from Black and Blue, which is a little bit surprising. But on here, you've got Hand of Fate, Fool to Cry, Crazy Mama, good versions of those ones, Hot Stuff, and then Melody on the March the 4th gig with Billy Preston obviously sharing the lead vocal. So that's 5 songs from the album. Very happy to hear that album well represented live. It's an underrated album in their catalogue without a doubt. And also good to see is some tracks from It's Only Rock and Roll sharing the spotlight. So we've got the title track, of course, they do a great version of that, and also featuring on this live album, Dance Little Sister, storming version of that. And then perhaps the highlight of the whole concert for me, a storming version of Luxury, which is first track, side 2 of It's Only Rock and Roll, and the album version is decent, but this one really rocks along, and the guitars seem to be twice as loud, and it really works. So that's interesting. Other interesting things about the set list from Exile, they do All Down the Line very effectively. They do a reasonable version of Tumbling Dice. They've got the tempo right, but it misses, if I'm honest, it misses the female backing vocals, Clyde King and co. And it misses the coda with the great drums with the help of Jimmy Miller. To me, it really, really does miss that. I've never really heard a completely satisfactory live version of Tumbling Dice, if I'm honest. And then also from Exile, we've got a stormy version of Rip This Joint. Only one song from Sticky Fingers represented here, Brown Sugar, which is no longer on the set list, as we know. And then we've got the singles Jumping Jack Flash, we've got Honky Tonk Woman, we've got a storming version of the Chuck Berry Around and Around, and which was on Love You Live. Manish Boy is a blues workout, it's okay, not my favourite. Cracking Up is a really good cover version of that song, which Paul McCartney did on the Russian album, same song. Very good version of Star Star from Goat's Head Soup. I don't think I've heard a better version of Let's Spend the Night Together as a live performance. Really good version of that. And then a good blues cover, Worried Life Blues, which I seem to remember Eric Clapton did on Just One Night in 1980, the Japan concerts. I'm pretty sure it's on there. Little Red Rooster is featured. As you can see, a very long set list. Those 300 fans. Talk about value for money. They certainly got it that night. And then another big highlight of this concert is the March the 4th version of Worried About You, the track which wouldn't appear until 1981 on To You. And here it is, more or less fully formed, with Mick kind of alternating his normal vocal with falsetto. But the song is more or less complete. And he does have to maybe prompt the band when they're going to go into the key change in the middle of the song by saying something like "Let's go" or something, and that seems to be a cue for the band to change key, because they may not be that familiar with the song, but it doesn't really show. It's really good to hear, and it's interesting how they had that song in the can and Nothing from Some Girls, which was going to be the following album. So it's great to hear, and you get a good booklet with this. As I say, good sleeve notes and details of the tracks, and then some good pictures. And considering Keith was still more or less hooked on heroin, he's putting in a good... You remember seeing pictures from '76 where he's virtually falling asleep on stage. I think the beauty of a small venue is it forces the musicians to play music as opposed to just, make a sound in front of all the screaming fans. And I know you, Paul, the Fit to Be Tie-Dyed, or now your channel is called My Inner Groove, you were saying that this is the right kind of venue for a band like the Stones to be heard, and I would argue it's the right kind of venue for any band to be heard, because it accentuates the musicianship, and you can't hide behind the screams or the gimmicks like the inflatable penis and all that rubbish the Stones had in their stadium gigs. So good to see the band really on form. Obviously sad that Charlie's passed away now, but good that this has come out to remind us how good he was, and good to see the lineup with Bill as well, and new material from that, because I thought they'd virtually released everything, but then I had actually forgotten about this particular concert, so I was delighted to see it come out. I thoroughly recommend it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.